to do a video that focuses on the topic of toilet paper and how much you should include in your home preps. There's a lot of interesting studies out there on the internet regarding toilet paper. One of them talked about what 20th century convenience is the most taken for granted for. 60% of the people said toilet paper. And another one they had, if you're stranded on a desert island, what's the one item that you would take with you? About 50% of the people said they would take toilet paper, even over food and water. So this is definitely one that's taken for granted. So for this video, we're going to look over some of the data, find out how much toilet paper is really needed, and then we're going to try to go for a year's supply of toilet paper for your home preps. So let's get started now with this video featuring toilet paper. According to Charmin customers, the number of days a standard roll of toilet paper usually lasts in the most used bathrooms in the house is 5 days. They also have another study that on average, consumers use 8.6 sheets per trip for a total of 57 sheets per day. That's an annual total of 20,805 sheets, and this is according to Charmin. Right now, you can get toilet paper basically at any convenience store, and that's usually where I go to get our EDC or our regularly used toilet paper. And that could be at a grocery store or a store like Target, for example. And they have a wide selection of brands that are available. For long-term toilet paper storage, I like going with the Kirkland brand, which you can get over at Costco. It has a lot of pros with it. It costs only $17 for a package of 30 rolls, and each roll has 425 sheets to it. Using the data from Charmin and then applying a little bit of math, I tried to calculate how much toilet paper is really needed for an entire year. So there's 365 days in a year. Charmin says that the average roll of toilet paper lasts 5 days in a household. So if you divide 365 by 5, you get 73 rolls of toilet paper needed for an entire year. And keep in mind, for emergency purposes, you're probably going to be rationing, so you could probably get by for a little bit longer. So I went with that 8.6 sheets of toilet paper used per visit, and I went with 3 visits used per day, which would equal 25.8 sheets of toilet paper used per day per person. So if you go with the Kirkland brand of toilet paper, which has 425 sheets to an entire roll, and you divide that by 25.8, you get 16.5. So that roll theoretically should last 16.5 days. So let's use this data to try to calculate the minimum number of toilet paper rolls needed per person per year. So again, there's 365 days a year. If you divide that by that new number of 16.5 days that we calculated with the Kirkland brand rolls, that equals 22.1 rolls needed. So let's just round it down to 22. So 22 rolls needed minimum per person per year. Now let's calculate the high-end estimates of rolls needed per person per year. Previously, we covered the minimum. So again, the Kirkland brand has 425 sheets per roll. If you divide that by 57, which is what Charmin says is the average number of sheets used per person per day, that equals 7.5. So a Kirkland roll theoretically by Charmin, based off of the average number, should last you 7.5 days. So if you divide 365 by 7.5, that's going to equal 48.7. Let's just round it up to 50. So then the high-end estimate is that each person for a single year will need 50 rolls of toilet paper with the Kirkland brand. Now that we have these data points, let's figure out how many toilet paper rolls a family of 2 will need for an entire year. So on the low end of the estimate, each person is going to need to have 22 rolls. So you're going to have 44 rolls for a family of 2. That's basically 1.5 packages of the Kirkland brand of toilet paper. If we're going to go with the higher estimate, each person is going to need to have 50 rolls of toilet paper. So for a family of 2 on the higher end, just to be safe, you're going to need to have 100 rolls of toilet paper. That's basically going to be a little bit more than 3 of the Kirkland packages of toilet paper. Now for a family of 4 full-size humans, you're going to need to have a bare minimum of 88 rolls. We might as well just round that up to 100, but at a bare minimum, 88 rolls, so 22 per person for the entire year. If we were going to go with a higher estimate, each person's going to need to have 50, so you're going to have a total of 200 rolls of toilet paper, and that's basically going to be around 7 of the Kirkland packages from Costco. Now keep in mind that Americans seem to use more toilet paper per person than the average person in the world. I read an interesting quote that said, Americans who use an average of 23.6 rolls per capita a year, more toilet paper than citizens in other countries, 3 times more than the average European, and 100 times more than the average person in China. So that's definitely something to keep in mind, especially with an international audience like I have. Now let's talk about storage locations for your toilet paper for your home emergency preps. Now, toilet paper is fairly light, but it's also bulky and takes up a lot of space, especially if you're talking about hundreds of rolls of toilet paper. There are some smaller options for emergency preps. Make sure you check out Canadian Preppers, the king of the toilet paper tablet, here on YouTube. He has a very interesting video, or a series of videos, on small toilet paper rolls. These are toilet paper rolls that are available in convenience stores, so we're going to talk about storage location for these type of rolls. Now, the easiest solution is to go over to your Costco, pick up around 3 packets of the Kirkland brand of toilet paper, and then just store it in your garage, basement, or laundry room and try to forget it. I find that to be a little bit difficult because it oftentimes will go into your regular rotation of toilet paper, and I prefer to have toilet paper for emergency purposes be for emergency purposes only. So I prefer to have them stored in a location that I'm not often going to see. Here's a few other storage ideas for your toilet paper for your home emergency preps. Again, you want to store them in a location that you're not going to want to easily add them to your regular rotation of toilet paper. These are for emergency purposes only. So the first option could be up in your attic or in your rafters of your garage. So again, toilet paper is fairly light, so you don't have to worry as much on the weight of it. Although now the toilet paper will have to be protected because mice love using toilet paper for building their nests. So you'd have to store them in some kind of plastic container with a lid on it. The other storage idea is to store them underneath a bed. So take them out of the main package and store them in the individual packages under a bed frame. You could probably store up to 100 rolls under a bed. They are exposed again to critters and water if your home has the potential of flooding. So that's another thing to keep in mind. You also will have to have them in some kind of plastic storage to help protect them from those things. Now let's talk about my personal preference for toilet paper storage for emergency purposes. There's a few videos on YouTube with preppers that store 100 rolls of toilet paper in a single plastic garbage can with a lid on it. And I think that's a pretty good approach. It protects it from water and it also protects it from rodents. The only problem I have is that it's all in a single location, and if that location were to get compromised for whatever reason, your entire stash of toilet paper is now gone. So I like dividing up my toilet paper stash just so it's in multiple locations, so if a single location were to get damaged for whatever reason, I still have some backup toilet paper. So I like having a single Costco Kirkland package of toilet paper, again that's 30 rolls, stored in a convenient location like the garage or in the laundry room, for example. And if I need to access it for whatever reason, to add it to my regular toilet paper rotation, that's easy to do, and then I just replace that single package. For the remaining rolls of toilet paper, I like storing them in plastic bins. So they're protected from water, they're protected from the rodents, and they're easy to transport. And I'll store those either up in the attic, in the rafters, in the garage, or in a basement closet, for example. And I try to do a couple different locations just so they're spread out from each other. And that's my strategy for storing toilet paper. That's going to do it for this video featuring toilet paper. I hope that you guys enjoyed watching it. Again, in summary, at a bare minimum, each person should have 22 rolls of toilet paper to last them an entire year. A safer number would be 50 rolls of toilet paper for emergency purposes, and that's based off of the calculations from the data that we gathered from Charmin's statistics. We also talked about storage locations for those toilet paper rolls. So please feel free to leave any kind of comments below in the comments section regarding this video. Maybe you could talk about how many toilet paper rolls you personally store and where you store them at. So I'm looking forward to reading the comments. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video featuring toilet paper. See you guys next time.